Okay, you guys, today we're going to work on something called frequency tables. We've been talking about different ways to represent data, and today we're going to do this with what we call doodle notes. And doodle notes are something fun that every few minutes you're going to take some time to color some things in. So the first thing I want you to do is go ahead and write your name here. That's important, first and last name. And we're going to be talking about what types of shoes we wear. What type of shoes we wear. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to take a few minutes. You should have some type of pens or colored pencils. And I want you to go ahead and color in this Air Jordan right here. So take a few minutes to do that. The teacher will pause the video and then we will continue on. Okay, so we're talking about what type of shoes are we wearing in this class. So again, don't forget these are doodle notes. So in a few minutes, I'm going to have the teacher pause the video so you can color this in and color in our Nike shoe here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about, well, what in the world is a frequency table? What does that mean when we say frequency table? Well, it's a chart. So go ahead and start writing this down on your paper. It's a chart, right? AKA a table that lists. So it's a list of something. So it's a chart that lists data, right? That means things that you've collected that can be turned into numbers by the number of times it occurs. So take a moment and finish writing that. A frequency table is a chart that lists data by the number of times it occurs. So oftentimes you'll hear somebody say, oh, we frequent that place. That means they go there a lot of times. So frequent or frequencies have to do with number of times. So that's a really important part of a frequency table, is figuring out the number of times. Well, in this case, we're talking about what type of shoes do we wear. So again, the teacher is going to pause the video, and I want you guys to take some time to color in our title, as well as our shoe, our Nike shoe on the right-hand side. So find the two things that I pointed at with a green arrow and go ahead and do that. All right, you guys, I'm glad you're back. Now, we're going to be creating a frequency table of our own. And the first thing I want to remind you of, which you should have done just a few minutes ago, but don't forget, when we're writing frequencies, you always represent a frequency by tally marks. So in this case, most important one is our 5. We have 4 tally marks and then a diagonal tally mark. But there are infinite amounts of numbers that you can represent with tally marks. Here's a 3. Or maybe you want to show a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2 left over is 7. So you guys know there's several different ways to show a tally mark, or to represent a number, I should say. In a few minutes, you're going to be coloring in this box as well as these words, and also this shoe. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk about shoes. So in this side, we're going to put the brand of the shoe. And on this side, we're going to put the frequency. Okay, that means the number of times. So I'll put the little number sign. This is not a hashtag. This represents the word number. Okay, so say for instance, we have students in class that are wearing Vans, or even teachers. Some are wearing Nike. Maybe some All-Stars, aka Converse. Maybe some students are wearing New Balance, so I'll put an NB. And then maybe there's some varying other shoes that are being worn. So the first thing you need to remember when creating a frequency table, you have to make sure and label. The first column is usually the items you're talking about. The second column is the frequency or the numbers. So say for instance, we have 8 people in class wearing Vans. I would draw 8 tally marks. So there's my 5, 6, 7, 8. And maybe for our Nikes, we have 6. So I would draw my 5 tally marks and then 1 more. And maybe because All-Stars have blown up this year, we have 12 people wearing All-Stars. So we're going to say we have 5, a 10, and we have 2 more, which is 12. And then for New Balance, maybe we just have 1 person wearing New Balance. And then maybe 3 other people wearing different types of shoes or brands. So a frequency table just shows how many times something occurs. In this case, how many times somebody's wearing Vans, how many times somebody's wearing Nike, how many times somebody's wearing All-Stars. So what I want to do right now is I want you guys to take a few minutes and I want you to color in the 3 places where you see our blue squiggly. So go ahead and color in that Vans shoe, the writing frequencies, and our title frequency tables. Go ahead and pause the video and do that now. Okay, so a little bit more about frequency tables. When we talk about frequency tables, you can notice right away what is the most popular shoe in class. And that would be our All-Stars. That would be the most popular right now. So maybe I would highlight that to show, oh yeah, that's the most popular. And I know the least popular in this class are our New Balance because there's only 1 student wearing those. So you can tell really quickly by your tick marks, your tally marks, how many students are wearing Vans or Nikes or All-Stars. Something I like to do when I am working with tally marks is I like to go on the side of the table and I like to write the actual number out just because it helps me to visualize what I'm looking at. So you notice here, I can easily see which brand of shoes is most popular. So now what I'd like to do is let's create a line plot with it. Now you guys remember a line plot and a dot plot. Okay, line plot uses X's, so go ahead and make sure you put that for your definition. And don't forget your dot plot. Go ahead and write this down too. Uses dots. That's why we call it the dot plot. Okay, so in this case, let's go ahead and get started. We know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things we can write on our dot plot. Okay, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll put a couple of extra lines in there. But I'm just going to go ahead and start and writing them out. I'm going to put V for Vans, N for Nike, AS for All-Stars, NB for New Balance, and OT for other. So because I went ahead and wrote that number at the top, it's going to be on the side of the table, it's going to be pretty easy for me to create this line plot. So Vans, I have 8 people, so I'm literally going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nike, I have 6 people, and if you notice, I like to use varying colors sometimes if I have access to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All-Stars is 12. That's a lot of people, so I'm going to have to kind of squish it, but it's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You want to make the X's all about the same size so you can compare the pictures. New Balance is going to be an easy one for me. That's one person. And then other, well, that's only 3 people. So we can tell a lot about what is popular and what is not popular in this classroom. And most likely that's going to be the same for most of the school, or maybe even the city, or maybe all the middle schools students in the United States. But in this case, we can tell that our All-Stars are pretty darn popular. Followed by Vans and Nikes, which are almost equal. We know New Balance is not too popular in middle school, and there's other brands, but it's not typically these brands that you see here. All Stars, Nike, and Vans are the ones that you're going to see most often. Okay, so what I want you guys to do now is take just a couple of minutes. Your teacher will pause the video so that you can color in our letters, and then we're going to move on to the other side. All right, you guys, so on the back of your paper, I want you to do some more coloring in as you work, but I want you guys to go ahead and look at our tally mark chart, right? Otherwise called as a frequency table. You're going to be looking at this right here, and you notice this time it is not going up and down, it's going side to side. It's a horizontal table, which is the same thing. But if I were you, the first thing I would do is I would go to the bottom and I would create a dot plot, because it's really going to help you just visualize things. Then when you're done, I want you to answer these questions here and these questions here. So you're going to list 5 things you learned from the chart and then 5 things you did not learn from the chart. I'm going to give you a hint about what you did not learn from the chart. Now I'm going to give you an example, but you can't use this example in your actual answers, okay? So for instance, I know for sure is something I don't know is how many people were surveyed. How many people were surveyed? I'm not done yet. Who are teenagers? So I don't know how many people were surveyed who are teenagers. It could have been teenagers, it could have been old people, it could have been children, it could have been a mix of them. So when we say what did you not learn from the chart, or what are things that maybe you can't see, like you don't know how much Adidas cost, or what kind of New Balance we're talking about, what styles, okay? So add things like that. Things you did learn from the chart, you should be able to state specifically. Talk about things like what's the most popular, what's not popular, what has maybe kind of popular but not too popular, how many Adidas, how many people in total were surveyed, things like that, okay? So you need to finish these 3 things with the red arrows, but I would highly encourage you to start with a dot plot. And if you need more room, grab a piece of graph paper and create a dot plot on there. Don't forget, part of this is making sure you color in everything. So don't forget your titles, coloring all those extra things just to make it a little bit more inviting.